host, Lionel Tavares. And today I have a very special guest. He is one of the listeners that whenever I talk about the show, I say, if you have a story to tell, go ahead and tell us your story. Leave me a message and talk to me about what you would like to talk about, your story. And this is the fourth person that we had that reached out to me, and his name is Jor-El. I'm not going to give all the information. I'm going to let him introduce himself. So with that being said, go ahead, sir, and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, Lionel, thanks a lot for having me. I just listen to your show. I follow you, and the conversations we had, it was, I really appreciate you asking me if I wanted to share my testimony with you guys. So it just seemed like a perfect opportunity to be like, I'm here. I have a story to tell, so why not? I was born in Eugene, Oregon, in the Pacific Northwest, and man, it's different it's different once you're on and you want to start talking about yourself. Born in the Pacific Northwest, my mom's white, my dad is black, and born in the 90s, it was a different time than it was now. Like, quite literally, you could watch things on the TV that had, I guess, what we would consider now really racist things, and it would just be really funny. And so thinking about my childhood and relation to being one of the few, identifiably colored people in the classroom, but still trudging out my own peace and my own respect for myself throughout life is something that I wanted to share, especially in relation to finding Christ or being a Christian by conversion and not by heritage, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes sense.
So yeah, I was born out here in the Pacific Northwest, and there's really the main thing that I wanted to say was that by the time I was 11 or 12, the internet was full bloom in the United States. And so as quickly as everything was changing, I was coming into finding out like, oh, there are things that most of the adults around me don't even understand yet. And with that happening, I came into lots of addictions by the time I was, 13 years old, 14 years old, getting into smoking weed and watching pornography regularly. And the adults around me, considering in so many different cases with how new the internet was, they were, rolling their shoulders and being like, this is normal. This is what people do. This isn't something you need to be ashamed of. And fast forwarding, 10 years down the road, I realized like I had secrets. I realized that I was coveting things that weren't mine. I was lusting after people that I didn't know or didn't wish to have real actual relationships with. And what really, really put me down for the count, what really made me start to think about what I was doing was when I recognized that I was making conscious decisions specifically for the sake of making money. And they weren't lining up with who I was or who I wanted for myself.
Yeah, well, and just really quick, I just want to say that I could relate with a lot of that. If you heard my podcast, I've been down that road with the pornography and the addiction. And at one point in my life, from the year 2013 to about the year of 2017, 18, I opened a mobile dispensary. I started selling weed, got addicted to weed. And none of those paths got me to where I wanted to be happy. I made good money because when it was illegal, well, not illegal, it was more like in the middle back then. So you were making good money, but it was legal, but not illegal. You had to have a medical card. Today, you could be 21 and over and just get in. But when I was doing it, I was making good money, but I just wasn't happy. I was just always watching my back. You know what I mean? It was just always like someone was always after you, the feeling that you had. But anyways, I'm sorry.
Right.
I just wanted to get into that. Yeah.
And that's exactly it. I felt like I had to live up to an expectation that I was falsely creating for myself. worked in the banking industry for almost 4 years and doing mortgages and helping people take applications for affordability and seeing what they could actually purchase with their credit score in tandem with what their income says. And it was a wake-up call for myself, because I thought I wanted to get into real estate and become, as the atypical like landlord or land mogul, and be able to rent out property and then reinvest my value into taking out more equity loans. And thinking about it now is so funny.
Well, if you just want to get into that, where I live, everyone that I meet is a real estate agent. It's almost like living in LA.
Right.
What do you do for a living? Oh, I'm an actor. You'll pick a number. Everybody's an actor. Where I live, everybody's a real estate agent. Everybody. But they're not really real estate agents. You know what I mean? They're just trying to be a real estate agent. They're trying to jump into a pool.
Money.
Imagine a big pool, and it only fits 100 people. There's 500 people in this pool, and they're trying to add more. At least where I'm at. You know what I mean? But go ahead. Yeah.
And I ended up getting really depressed. I was living for the sake of trying to sell to people, and realizing that sales was something that, even though everybody said, "Oh, you're really good at that, Jor-El, you could be a good salesman," I wasn't selling myself the right way. I was showing up with an alternative agenda.
And what would that agenda be, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, it was rooted in this idea that I was going to make a ton of money and be a successful businessman, essentially. But it didn't have anything to do with me rooting in this, like, oh, this is my life goal, this is my plan, and I'm going to work it, piece by piece until all of the places fall together. This was like, oh, if I do this, I'm really good at sales, so I could end up becoming an insurance salesman or a real estate agent, and essentially retire by the time I'm 35, because I'm smart enough to do that. That was my mindset.
Yeah, bro, I've been there before. Like when I was selling all that, when I was selling weed, doing it under the guise of a mobile dispensary, and I only take on clients that have a medical card. I mean, and that mindset that I was in, I was about 26, 27 to about 28. I wasn't just trying to sell to people with a medical card. I was trying to sell to everybody and anybody, just to get me to a point where I was just had money to do the things that, like, oh, I want to go out to the club. I want to get bottle service. I want to impress the women, because the guy that put me on was on that level, and I wanted to be like him. But, long story short, when you get to the bottom of it, that guy wasn't even happy himself. He had so many problems with people that wanted to rob him, kill him. He was always scared about the cops because he was growing too much, more than his license, and blah, blah, blah. So it started like trickling down to me. So I get where you're coming from. You have this idea where you just want that money just so you could be free, right? Because you think the more money you have, the more free you are, but it's not the case.
Exactly. And that was a concept that has recently dawned itself on me, and recognizing that, let's say 200, 300 years ago, how did people ask a stranger, are you a good person or not? They'd say something like, oh, what God do you worship? Or, oh, are you a Christian? And nowadays people will say, oh, what do you do? What do you do for a living? How can I extrapolate the value of your worth just by you telling me what you do? And a lot of times people don't really ask questions of like, what do you do? Because I want to know what you like. They want to know what your worth is. And so the equation between nowadays is people will equate worth with money. And lo and behold, that's just not what real wealth is all about. Like a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of friendship. You have a wealth of love, a wealth of access to people who can help you or are willing to help you. That's so far beyond what people's concept of being rich is nowadays.
Well, yeah, I mean, as you know, I'm a personal trainer, and I train people that have no money, and I train people that have a lot of money. And I'll tell you, the ones that have a lot of money all they do is vent to me, right? Like, you think it's a training session, but 30 minutes of that hour is them venting to me about, man, this guy did this to me. He ripped me off. He's overpricing me. He's trying to get one under me. You know, whether they're, because I train people that that buy houses, beat up houses and rebuild them. And, you know, all the workers are like, oh, well, this is the wrong part, so I'm going to charge you again, and this, and that. You know, just stuff like that. Sure. And, these people have all the money in the world and they're not happy. Every girl they date is just there for their money. And, you know, for example, I have friends that make a lot of money and they tell me, oh, you know, out here in the Valley, because, you know, they come out here, but they also have homes everywhere around America and even around the world. And I'm not going to say any names, but I have some that tell me, oh man, I hate this Valley. You know, there's no girls out here that I can get their attention. But when I'm in LA or San Diego and I pull up in my Lamborghini, all the girls come to me, and I tell them straight up, I'm a straight up person. And I think that's why they come back to me, because I'm very straight up. And I said, all right, those girls that are going up to in LA, in San Diego, whatever, don't pull up in your Lamborghini. Don't wear your Dolce & Gabbana. Go there in a Prius, dress regular, and the girls that are there, try to get them to be interested in you without all that. Because other than that, they're just there for that, from the things that you own. Like, you can't brag to me about getting a bunch of women. I mean, it's not nothing to brag about either, to have a bunch of women, but these people that brag to me that they have women, I know they pull up in their Bentleys and Bugattis and you know what I mean? And they're bragging about women. But if you take that all away, can you really impress anybody? Or you just out there to show your materialistic valuables?
And that's peacocking, right? That's
100%.
the essence of showing, look at how hard I've worked for what I've got. And in many cases, it feels to me as if the security that's, you know, propositioned with all of these nice things is what seems to be so attractive. I recognized in myself that I have the ability to even be broke at the same time and hold on to or act like the things that I have are ultra valuable or very, very important to me because I bought them, you know?
So I definitely know where you're coming from. So me and you spoke a couple of days ago. We spoke a lot, and a lot of things that you said are very intriguing to me. And we had a lot of good conversations and a lot of opinions back and forth. And one of the things I wanted to ask you about is, how did you find your faith? And before you found your faith in Christ, what was your journey to get there?
Right. So by the time I was old enough to think for myself, essentially, you know, 13, 14, going into high school, essentially, this was probably 2008, 2009, we're talking. I had been playing football and all sports of contact sports. And I realized that I'm playing with my emotions. I've played with my emotions and used my anger in order to fuel my passion and my competitive play. And when I got into high school, I started karate. And by that time I did that, it was, I think, 6 weeks into this, or just a few weeks into the the sixth grade, a few weeks into the sixth grade. And I was just the little fish again, you know, I was watching Bruce Lee movies. I was watching Jackie Chan movies, and I was watching Power Rangers. I was watching pretty much any male-oriented show, you know, like Dragon Ball Z is the perfect example.
I was about to say, what got me into lifting weights and wanting to fight, besides the things I dealt with in school, was Dragon Ball Z. I'm talking about Cartoon Network Toonami days. Those days.
Exactly. It was obsessive. The idea of being able to take on, you know, 30 guys all at once and just make it look like an art, the way you're dodging and hitting and striking and getting and people. And that became my thing. Anytime there was a pair of gloves around me and I put them on, I was immediately shadow boxing, you know? So
what kind of karate did you train at first, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, I joined one school. There was only one school that I ever went to, and she still teaches in town. It's the Family Karate Center, and she teaches traditional Japanese karate. Okay. So in the most basic essence of it, it's a combination of judo and kickboxing and wrestling techniques that just kind of go all the way back to when Japan was Okinawa, and then before that, when China was basically occupying these places.
And how long did you do that specific martial art?
I did that martial art starting in middle school, and I competed in high school and through my college years. So a total of about 12 years of training. And then I took like a 2-year break way closer to the beginning when I started, because I wanted to play lacrosse and football.
So with all those sports that you played, did you get pretty like involved in it? Were you like hanging out with all the jocks and etc.? Were you one of those guys, or did you kind of keep to yourself? Or
I was. It was something that I didn't take seriously as being like, these are my people. I had my own group of friends that I was really close with, but being athletic and being able to show up on the football field or show up in a competitive setting and not get pushed around or hold my own, it served me a lot of respect with the jocks. And noticing the antics, the way they behave, the way that their parents would even behave at certain instances, it became kind of, you know, the air of, if you're familiar with Oregon Duck football at all, the college football team, the fans here are notoriously unpopular.
Why is that?
You know, it's
a bunch of politics, or what?
Yeah, I would say it's a lot of politics mixed in with just the air of the I-5 corridor. People here have a lot of opinions, and there's this thing that we call Northwest nice. Whereas you look up probably down south where you are, people aren't afraid to say exactly what's on their mind. If somebody's, you know, fronting, they'll get called out on it immediately where you're from. Whereas over here, people are nice. The general consensus is, you know, we're kind to people. We're not mean to people here. But the moment you're out the door, you bet your ass people are talking about you.
Hey, it can go both ways out here too, man. There's right. A lot of people that don't have the goal to call people out. But I mean, we spoke enough to know that I don't have that, you know, that fear or that anxiety of like, bro, I don't agree with you, or I don't see it that way, and this is how I see it, and maybe you're gonna take an opinion to it. You know what I mean? But I definitely know where you're coming from. You're kind of out in the country, I would say, where people are more.
You know, I am, but
south.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Because Eugene is right in the middle of the I-5 corridor, and so when you think about Oregon as a state, people will think of Portland, and they think of Salem, maybe, which is the state capital, and then they think of Eugene, Tracktown, USA.
Yeah.
But really, outside of that, it's agricultural farmlands, it's rural, it's Trump County. You know, people really don't like liberal politics outside of the I-5 corridor of Oregon. And in a lot of different ways, I don't blame them. And then in a lot of different ways, people that have a life outside of the city really don't want anything to do with politics in general
at all.
And so why would you want to be a liberal in that sense?
Yeah, I definitely get where you're coming from. Well, where I live, unfortunately, there is no right or left. There's only the left where I'm from. And it gets to a point where, can I have an opinion or not? And if I say the wrong thing, I could just, my whole gym and career could just be destroyed by comments on Google or Yelp.
Or people with enough time and enough money to just, torture you with it.
Yeah, I've had a couple people try to do it, but at the end of the day, I've trained people who work at the White House, who are local sheriffs, who own this and own that, and they have a bigger mouth than those. It's usually if anyone wants to go out their way to badmouth you for something that isn't worth like going after. For example, let's just say someone asked me, "Oh, what's your belief?" I'm a Christian, and they got mad about it. So now they're going to go out their way and go destroy you because they didn't like what you said. I have those people usually have a reputation because I live in a small town, and those people are like, "Oh, that guy, man, that guy's a weirdo. Like, don't even listen to him. No one's going to pay attention to that person." Because I have people that have been living out here their whole life. They have homes everywhere else, or they're going in and out of here, or they're just from here. And they know that person, if they've been here their whole life, like, man, that person's a clown. I get it. Don't worry about it. Because, some people just don't like anything that you say. If you're not like kind of, what's that word I'm looking for? Because as a professional, I have to kind of have a professionalism. Like, I can't just rebuttal and be like, "Oh, bro, you can't be saying that to me." I have to just be like, I don't agree with that. This is what I believe in. Why? Well, why? Well, why? Brother, just get your gloves on and hit the bag. Don't start getting crazy with me, bro. Just hit the bag. We're not going to have a conversation about this. But because of that, they'll get mad and start typing on the internet and talking a bunch of mess, and it'll get around. But usually people that talk like that, like I said, everybody knows them if they've been out here, and they just don't take them serious. Thank God.
It usually comes around, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I'll give you an example really quick. So I used to work in Palm Springs. I live in the Coachella Valley. So right now where I'm at, I'm about 30-minute drive away from Palm Springs. And if people know where Palm Springs is at, it's pretty much the new San Francisco when it comes to the LBGT community. So I had a client, and I'm not going to say his name, but we were really cool. And he was a homosexual, like very flamboyant, like just, "What are you, how you doing?" Like, very flamboyant.
He's letting you know.
Yeah, he's like very flamboyant, like the way he dressed and everything. But whatever, this is like, this was a while ago, and I was getting paid good money. So I'll deal with it. Just don't come at me in a bad way. So long story short, this was during do you remember that whole court case they had where Kavanaugh, remember that Kavanaugh guy that worked for Trump? He was a judge. Name was Kavanaugh.
Oh,
I forgot his first name.
Yeah, where they were trying to say that he was
like a molester,
gang raping girls, like way back in the day.
Yeah,
so
that guy.
Yeah, I remember that.
So the funny thing is that as flamboyant as he was, and how proud he was of his homosexuality, he was actually a big Republican. So me and him kind of got along. And when that all happened, and, knowing me, we talked, I really don't care about politics, because at the end of the day, it's all the same side of one coin. So, he asked me, cause he'll always ask me, "Oh, what do you think about this? What do you think about that?" And he asked me, "What do you think about the whole Kavanaugh case?" And I'm like, "You know what, bro? Like, I just, I'm not going to take anybody's side, because I don't know her and I don't know him. At the end of the day, anyone could be right or wrong." And he goes, well, "What do you mean?" I was like, "I mean exactly what I said. Can we please work out and get our session over with? Because we're 10 minutes in and we've been arguing for 10 minutes. So who cares?" No, I want to give you an example. And his example was this. If you're running in the woods in the middle of the night, he said, if you're running in the woods in the middle of the night, in the middle of nowhere, he said, if a guy comes out and rapes you, it's your fault, because you went out in the middle of the night and you didn't like bring something to protect yourself, and it's your fault if you get raped, and you cannot blame the rapist. And I said, "Bro, how does that make any sense? Because I'm going out so in in your situation that you're bringing up, I'm going out in the forest to go run, not expecting a guy to come out of a tree and rape me. How is that my fault? It's the rapist's fault, because I'm not expecting someone to rape me in the forest, which is common sense. So then
we really deal with that, where people are saying victim status is something that is something you put on your sleeve. No, being a victim is something that we have to get out of being. No matter who or what type of person you are, you don't want to be a victim.
Yeah, exactly. So he was saying that to me, and then I forgot what I said, but I basically told him that doesn't make any sense, because I'm going out for a run and rape is not on the top of my mind, because I don't expect it to go when you go out and have a jog in the forest for a workout. You're not expecting somebody to rape you. So then he was getting all, flustered. And he's like, well, okay, so if you go out in the forest and a bear attacks you, isn't that your fault too? And I said, yes. If this forest is known for bears, and I go out in the forest where bears are known to attack people, that is my fault for taking that chance and not bringing a weapon to defend myself. But if a bear attacks me, it's not because it wants to rape me. It's because it's protecting its territory, or it's very hungry. If a man comes out of a tree and rapes me, it's not because he's hungry. It's not because he's protecting his territory. It's because he is calculating everything to come and rape somebody, because he went out to this forest in the middle of the night and hid behind whatever he's hiding behind to catch somebody. It's a completely different situation. And this dude blew up and he said, you know what? F you. I'm done with this session. F you and F all my sessions. And he went up to the front desk, started complaining. And then he told a big old lie saying that I'm a homophobe, blah, 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 blah. Mind you, bro, I've been nice to this guy. We kind of had a good, conversation when we were training before this, because we kind of had the same views when it comes to politics. But then he just blew up and had a big old attitude. He ended up getting another trainer in the gym that I worked at. And I remember when he would walk by, like if we had to cross paths, he would he would turn his head away.
Lionel. Yeah.
I was like, bro, I was like, relax, bro. It's not that serious. But people do get crazy about these politics.
People do. And that brings up one of the things I was going to say, alongside of martial arts, what I was really into growing up was 90s Attitude Era Wrestling, or WWF, WWE, and just kind of watching the magic, the mask, and the personas of wrestling stars combined with their unique skills. It really put on in the same way that my fascination I had with Jackie Chan. Is he really doing his own stunts? Like, what is real life type of thing? Is this real or not? And that's kind of to your point with politics, is like, how am I supposed to put faith into whether or not Kavanaugh did this or Kavanaugh did that? I don't know him from Adam, and it really doesn't serve me to put faith into saying that this is real. With that being said, I was probably 10, and I remember approaching my dad, and he was, behind the newspaper, behind the veil, and he's reading, and I'm like, "Yo, Dad, is wrestling fake?" and he looked at me. He half looked at me underneath the he's in his head. He's looking at me from behind the newspaper, and he's like,
you don't want to break your heart.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, it's fake. Yes, it is. And he said, how'd you figure that out? How'd you guess that it was fake? And I looked at him and I said, well, the guy just kept getting hit in the head with the chair and he didn't die.
It's true though, bro. This is the same questions I have when I was a kid. I was like, how is this guy jumping off of 3-4 stories and jumping on this guy? He just gets right back up. There's no blood. Right. There was a point where there was blood, but there was some times where how is there no blood? This guy would be dead.
Right. And when I said that, I could tell he had that look on his face, he was about to get splashed with water. I could tell he was laughing really hard on the inside.
Yeah.
Because I was mad. Like, I was upset that I had been wasting all this time watching people fake it, But that brought me back over to the martial arts even more so, because then I was like, well, if that's fake, then what Jackie Chan or Bruce Lee has to be doing is extra real, because this isn't anything close to, the performative part of it. And I think that has a lot to do with the way that we view politics, whether it be left or right, or like, your face wrestlers or your heel wrestlers. Like, this is the good guy. He's the machismo, or what have you.
With that being said, with the whole martial arts thing, because I know for myself, it brought me closer to my faith. And I want to ask you, right, did martial arts bring you closer to the faith that you believe in today? And how did it get you to be stronger in your faith?
Absolutely, it did. It was a really slow and long process, but I realized by the time I got my black belt, I had been doing karate for 6 or 7 years at that point. And I realized, looking back, that I didn't have to compete with my emotions anymore. I could show up stoically for events, and I could be contented with just showing up and doing my best. Whether I won or whether I lost, I didn't leave going home feeling depressed, or going home feeling like I should have done this or done that differently, especially when it came back to playing team sports. This was when I started recognizing, like, oh, leadership positions aren't something that you vote yourself into. Nobody really goes, oh, I want to be the leader of the team, and then that is unanimously like, yeah, great, he wanted to be the leader, now he's the leader. It's almost always a case where this person is very specifically against being the leader, but everyone recognizes like he's the best person for the job.
Yeah. And what kind of martial arts besides karate did you train in? I'm just curious because, I've been doing this for a while.
Sure. Mostly, the main thing that I focused on was traditional Japanese karate. And then in the last couple of years, I've been switching over and doing Muay Thai, or Thai boxing.
And with that being said, really quick, because I know this goes around in a full circle, when you did Muay Thai, because I know Muay Thai is legit sport. Mm-hmm. When you did Muay Thai, how confident were you that you could just destroy your past karate gym mates, or,
that's a really, really good question. Karate and the path that I took into becoming a black belt is so different as far as the discipline and the focus on what type of techniques you're learning and how you're doing your techniques. Muay Thai is very, very battle tested, and the entire purpose of it is to go into the ring and battle test yourself. Whereas I think for the majority of Americans, practicing karate as a form of self-defense, I think probably 8 out of 10 people, probably maybe 7 out of 10 people practicing karate don't actually, full spar ever.
Yeah.
And that's just my opinion from where I came doing karate. I would full spar with my buddies and we would beat each other up. But then you also have to recognize, like, full scalability of technique is to be able to throw a punch as hard as you can and then stop at the brim of their nose and, make it just a flick instead of bloodying it, type of thing. Whereas doing Muay Thai, I went to Thailand in 2018, and there were 13-year-olds and 14-year-olds that would whoop my butt.
Blasting you, yeah.
Blasting me and making me feel like I had made a mistake, in training the way that I had trained. I thought I was good, but I wasn't them.
Yeah, no, I feel you. That's why I asked you, because I went through the same thing. But I went through it in a different way. Just really quick, I started boxing when I was like about 12, 13 years old, in between there. And, it's the same thing with Muay Thai and boxing. There's no holding back. When you spar, you're blasting. And when you train, you're blasting. If your hands are down, you get smacked across the face by your coach with a full swing. So you get used to those hits. And when I tried kickboxing out for the first time, and they call it light sparring, I didn't know what light sparring was. So mind you, the first week of me doing kickboxing, and when I mean kickboxing, it was a Taekwondo school, but the coach, he was a legit coach because he had champions, right, in point sparring on the magazines, right? But he also taught, like, in his Taekwondo, he also mixed in Muay Thai and American kickboxing, but it was very light. So, like, the first day I sparred there, I didn't really know how to kick, but do like a little back leg round to, no higher than your knee. But these punches were going, you know what I'm saying? So I threw like a 1, 2, 3, and I blasted this guy, and he was like, covering his face. And the coach said, "Well, what are you doing? What are you doing?" I was like, I'm sparring. What do you mean? You said spar and go all out. Well, I didn't mean it like that. Well, brother, in my head, when he said go all out, I'm going all out. And then this is their black belt. This is their black belt. Right. And like I said, I don't know if it was just this school, but I'm very confident that their best fighter they had there, I can destroy them in under 20 seconds just with my boxing. I'll eat that kick and go right in. That's how I felt when I was there. Right.
Like, your relationship with the intensity is so much more comfortable than what they were willing to even put forth in their technique.
Oh, bro, they had their sparring gear was that big cage over their faces. Like, we guys get scared to get hit in the face, bro. Like, I don't need sparring gear. I just need that mouthpiece and that's it. Let's run it. And they were like, whoa. I was like, bro, I'm trying to be a champion here. You know what I'm saying?
I can relate to that. Yeah. I can totally relate to that. My experience at the karate dojo that I grew up going to, we didn't wear pads. We didn't wear mouthpieces. Rarely were kids coming in wearing a cup. And so the group of guys that we were sparring together, it was to the wall. Some of those guys had gone and done championships in other countries and competed. But that sheer difference that you mentioned between point sparring and real sparring, it's a big deal, and it's a contention for martial arts as a whole. When karate did its debut in the Olympics in 2021 or 2020 in Japan, there was a whole scandal over that guy getting disqualified of the gold medal because he kicked a dude in the head.
Did you ever see, really quick, sorry to interrupt, did you ever see that that little short documentary? I forgot the guy's name, but he was in China, and he learned MMA, really good at it, boxing, MMA, jiu-jitsu, and he called out all the Wing Chun masters in China, and he just whooped them very bad. And they got mad at him, and they banned him from all the gyms for a whole year because he proved the point. You know what I mean? So China, you know how China is. They don't care. They just ban him from every gym. If he went to another gym in that year, he would go to prison for God knows how long. But he proved the point. Wing Chun was BS in the art of boxing or kickboxing or jiu-jitsu. He whipped all their butt, and I'll send you the link later when we get off here. But it was very, like, we're talking about China. You know, China's very they're very proud of their abilities. They're very proud of their masters. And this Chinese guy, he had to be about maybe 200 pounds, about 6 foot, bigger Chinese guy. He was just whooping them with just his boxing. He didn't even like throw a kick. He just whooped them a little bit, turned them around, whipped their butt, and they were just destroyed. I think Wing Chun is probably, I think it's like a yoga martial art almost, because there's really,
no, it's its own thing. Bruce Lee did Wing Chun.
But he wasn't going to use that against a boxer or a street fighter. I mean, someone who knows how to fight. I think the difference is really, like, I could say that I'm a boxer, and then all I do is boxing. But if I don't actually ever increase the intensity level of my technique to a point to where it's even mimicking real violence, then we're just kidding ourselves. Well, that's the problem with these guys. They were going full out. These were like guys in their 40s and early 50s who've been doing it their whole life, and they were in a tournament that everybody was watching that was a full-on match, and they got destroyed. I don't know if they just didn't have the strength or the ability, or they're used to doing patty cake sparring for 50 years. I don't know, but they got destroyed by this guy. It was let's put it this way. I think MMA is the ultimate martial art. When I see MMA, you got boxing, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, any combination of that, you're going to beat somebody who just does Wing Chun. I mean, it's not even comparable.
I agree with it to the extent that as a platform, mixed martial arts is fire testing people. They're actually, having the trial by fire, and they're putting you in the cage, and they're closing it and being like, all right, good luck. And in the same way, you can't really fake jujitsu. Like once you're on the ground and you're wrestling with somebody else, you're either weaker than them or you're not, but with light sparring and point sparring, it creates a facade of toughness, I think, because you can rely on your technique and never actually have to go through the biggest question for me was when I got hit with a real round kick for the first time in a sparring match. I was, maybe a yellow belt or a blue belt, but I got kicked in the hip, and I remember my entire leg went numb. It just went out. And I was thinking to myself in the middle of this sparring match, is this what I want? Do I like martial arts? Because this hurts so bad.
Yeah.
Like this is the worst pain that I've ever felt in respect to somebody else inflicting violence on me that I asked for. And I was like, I don't even know if I want to do this.
It's the realest, bro.
So, with respect to what you asked me, how this brought me back, closer to faith is once I became comfortable, or once I became really knowledgeable in my own technique and my ability to execute them without having violence in my head, I recognized that the entire purpose of all of this was to not fight, was to not getting into confrontations with people.
Yeah.
To have these skills of showing up as an authority and recognizing like I don't have to abuse people to get what I want.
Yeah. And that is the whole point of it. Learn how to fight so you can control violence, so you don't have to fight, and build the confidence to not be that guy who's screaming and puffing his chest up in the room. As they say, the loudest guy in the room is the weakest guy in the room. And that is very true. And, I would even go as so far as when they interviewed Bruce Lee, who would win in a fight. You were Muhammad Ali. And Bruce Lee admitted Muhammad Ali would destroy me. I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. Maybe Bruce Lee can get him in a street fight, maybe, but you're talking about a guy who doesn't punch you in the nose to pull back. He's punching you in the nose so he can hit the back of your skull. There's a big difference when it comes to that stuff, because boxers are not trying to touch you and pull back. If they hit you in the chest, they're trying to hit the back of your back. You know what I mean? If they hit you in the jaw, an uppercut, they want to hit the top of your head. They're going for the kill. And I think
trying to ring your bell.
Yeah. And I just don't think, in my opinion, that Taekwondo or any of those things have any real value when it comes to real fight. I think boxing, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, Judo, all those things are the best for self-defense. But I'm not saying that those other martial arts have any value, because they teach you discipline. One thing I learned in Taekwondo is that you can't cuss, can't talk back to your master. You have to come in a certain fashion. You got to be dressed a certain way. You got to have your belt tied a certain way, and you have to do the forms to rank up on your belt. No matter how good I was at boxing, no matter how bad I could beat up the black belt, I still had to have discipline and learn the forms of the ancient Korean arts or whatever it was, to level up. And I did learn something to that. It was like being in the military, because if I said, damn, my master would be like, go give me 100 laps. Go give me 100 push-ups. You can't even say damn, and you can't say hell either, amongst other cuss words. But damn and hell were just as bad as saying the F word. So he would just discipline, but it gave me discipline and respect for my master. So I don't think it's completely a waste of time, because Taekwondo also taught me that I can do the splits. I can do, all these cartwheels and all these acrobatic, kicks in the air. It does show you things that could add to your boxing. It's
definitely not a waste of time.
Yeah, it's not.
And watching UFC, there are plenty of guys who have athletic talents that go beyond acrobatic, so the stuff that you would learn from being a Taekwondo artist or being an Aikido specialist, you can implement those techniques in MMA and make it work. I think, to your point, it's just the sheer difference is when people walk into that cage and it gets closed, someone's going to go down or it's going to go till the end. Right. Yeah. And point sparring, that's not the same mentality, but traditionally, Japanese point sparring was done without gloves, and they would ippon you, which is, the idea of one punch man.
Yeah.
They would punch you so hard that you're done.
Yeah. One punch man. Hey, but really quick, I have to use the restroom. I'm going to put music on. It's going to be a minute or less, and I want to change the subject. Even though I want to talk about this, I want to go in to the religion of Christianity and what you think about it, and so on and so on, like we talked before. Give me a second. Don't hang up. I'm going to be right here. I'm going to put music on. Give me 1 minute. All right. We are back. Are you there, buddy?
Yes, sir.
All right. So with that being said, martial arts is definitely something that we both agree on, that it's good no matter what it is. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So let's go into what is your thoughts on Christianity, and where are you at in Christianity right now with your personal self?
Yeah. So when I opened up, I said that I was essentially getting lost, with addiction and compulsive behaviors, and I recognized that I wanted to get in. I recognized that I wanted to be whole. I wanted to be a wholesome human being. As far as I wanted to have people that had the same opinion of me outside. I wanted to think about myself on the inside. So, whether I was projecting or acting, I didn't want that to be misaligned with how I felt inside of myself. And so, it was a concept I was considering really, really deeply. Like this just aspect of self-reference. The idea of mirroring my true self and becoming united with the voice that speaks inside of my soul. And so I really had to decide, like, what is that voice and who is that voice? Is that voice God, or is that voice, the devil, or is it me? And then I had to decide if I was going to live by that same spirit and act in that same breath, moving with the same type of confidence that makes questions rhetorical, like as if I was somebody that clearly knows what he is about to be doing or what he's supposed to be doing. Like, you don't have to ask, like it's clear what I'm doing. You don't have to ask me, hey, what are you doing? Like, you could look at him and be like, oh, it's obvious. I don't have to ask him. And so I kind of came to this place where I started speaking to myself without leaving the first person, because a long time, like, oh, you idiot, like, you're so stupid, like, why would you do that? And that was kind of like the replaying that would happen in my head. But I stopped doing that, even if I wished that I was somebody else. And I took all the gratitude and reverence of the work and the practice that I was participating in, and I gave it away. I just started leaving it to God, and I just asked that the things that I loved and that the things that I wanted remained sacred to me and remained available in my life. And it was a moment where I actually, for the first time, completed a real prayer, instead of treating my relationship with God kind of like a slot machine and being like, okay, let's see if praying to God works this time. No, maybe I just didn't ask for the right thing. Who knows? And I finally realized that prayer, like, is a fully experiential as well as processing, like, it's a practice. And I realized, like, okay, there is a full part to this. I need to sit down and recognize where I'm falling short, and I need to apologize, not just to a God in heaven, but I need to apologize to myself for letting myself down, and then recognize all of the things that I'm doing aren't for myself particularly, but they're for something beyond me. And it came down to the point of, well, what is that? What is that thing that's beyond you that lives for you? And the only thing that I've read that makes the clearest amount of sense to me in that respect was the Gospels. And so I made the choice to, I called a buddy of mine who was really, really close to me for a long time. And I said, hey, I want you to baptize me. Like, I think I'm ready to do this. And I really appreciate like how long you've been inviting me to this, but never actually telling me this is what I'm supposed to do. You know, like it was never something that he lorded over my head, but he had always been very devout, and he went on his own mission, and
as it should be.
Right. And so I recognized that, like, wow, like not only have we been friends our entire lives, but you have held fellowship with me as a brother, without ever expecting me to be or act any type of certain way. And I feel it's only right if you help me start this journey. And that happened summer 3 years ago now, I think. Maybe 2 years ago.
2021, 22?
Yeah. Okay. 21. And from that day, it was like after I came up out of the water that day, I recognized like, wow, I wasn't just freed. Like I was free before to be whoever I wanted to be, and nobody could say anything. I could lie, I could cheat, and I could steal. And it was all of my own consequence. There wasn't, anybody to look at. And then now I recognized as I came out of the water, like now you're not free. Like you've been binded, and you actually have to live according to what you say you're going to do. And whether that is a good thing or a bad thing, now I'm bound to being honest, and I'm bound to giving everything that I do to God. And it's something that I have to like every day practice with and contend with. So yeah.
No, that's great. So when you got baptized, I don't know about you, but when I got baptized and I got out the water, I'm not trying to be corny or cringy, but I felt like a renewal, like a straight up renewal. If you're genuine with it, my pastor told me, if you're genuine and you really believe your baptism is real, you're going to feel different. And I don't know if it was just, a placebo effect, but I really did feel different. And to the people that oh, well, would you change overnight? No, it doesn't happen overnight. You get sanctified over time, but you do have a different feeling and a different belief and a different path when you get baptized, if it's legit. The people out there who don't believe in anything, they don't even believe in their own birth, they would just say, oh, you're just making that up. Man, look at, no one changes overnight, and no one's going to change overnight because of baptism, but you do get a new visual path. Like, how do I say it? Like a horse blinders, but in a different way. All you see is the things that you used to do that you no longer want to do, not because you're forcing yourself to do it, because you just don't find joy in it anymore. And I'll give an example. I used to go out every night almost when I lived in LA, and I had an excuse for it too. I lived in LA for 7 years, and people that heard my podcast, I worked in Hollywood. So I had this excuse, take it back Tuesday. Let's go out because it's take it back Tuesday. Let's go out because it's wet Wednesdays. Let's go out because it's thirsty Thursdays. Let's go out because it's freaky Friday. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Let's go out because it's set back Saturday. I had an excuse about 6 to 5 days a week to go out and drink because I lived in Redondo Beach, and Hermosa Beach was just right there, and all the bars and everything's right there. But when I started believing it, even before I got baptized, when I started believing in God more, those things slowly went away. Not because I was in my house on a Friday night, like, oh, I'm itching to go out. I need to go out. I don't want to miss out. I'm having FOMO, which means fear of missing out. I just didn't want to do it because, oh, look at you. You got a lot of hair, buddy.
I didn't even realize that the camera was off until you went to the bathroom.
You're a good looking guy. So anyways, like I said, there was it wasn't because I was forcing myself because I didn't want to go out and I was like, oh, I want to go out so bad, but because I read this in the Bible, I don't want to go out. No, I literally, all the urges I used to have to go out, to drink, to go chase after, usually it's to chase after women. That's the bottom line when you're around that age. You're in your early 20s, you're drinking, you're going out to a club. You're not going out to hang out with your boys. You're going out to go meet women and hopefully leave your boys and go with the women. And those urges slowly started going away because when those nights would be successful for me, when I would meet a woman, and I'm just being real on this podcast like I always am, and I would get what I want with that woman as a result. I never felt good after. I just wanted to go home. I didn't want to stay there. I just wanted to get back, take a shower, and I'm not trying to be funny, but it's true. You just want to get out of there, and you don't feel good at all. You never feel good about it. You just feel like
the rush from battle,
Exactly. You don't feel good about it. You feel disgusted because of what you did. And most of the time you never talk to that person again, especially when you're living in a big city like that. There's so many people that go in and out. They could be from another country. And then you just feel like, why'd I do that? So now it's the next day. I have a hangover. I have a headache. I don't feel good. And then some way, somehow you do it again the same night, half awake with a hangover because you have an addiction. Like that's what I had, an addiction of getting women. I had an addiction of meeting a woman the same night and trying to get her the same night. It's an addiction, and I'm not the only one. Just about everybody I was doing that.
I was right there, man.
Yeah,
I was right there.
So that's exactly what I was going through. And now this is what an LA. I was in LA from 19, 20, 21, 22, 24. So I was there from the age of 19 to about the age of 27, 28. And I would say about 26, I started falling out of it. And then I got baptized a couple years ago. But even before my baptism, I just didn't want to do it anymore. And believe it or not, I've dated a couple women in between that time and now. And we would get into arguments because these women would get mad at me. Oh, how come you never want to go out to the club? How come you never want to go to the bar? Are you embarrassed of me? I said, why is it so important to you that I have to show you off at a nightclub and at a bar? Why do I have to go there to respect you? It's not even a respectable place to take you, first of all. Why can't you be satisfied with me taking you to dinner at a decent hour? Like these women that I was dating complained about decency, but they also wanted me to take them to nightclubs and show them off so they can dress in little tight dresses. For what? So every guy could just look at you, and then you want me, like it turns you on for me to like be like overly protective of you because everybody's looking at you. It does nothing for me.
It's a sickness.
But it just causes me problems because now these guys want to fight me because I'm just there with her. And for some reason, they enjoy this attention. They enjoy being fought over. They enjoy being lusted after. And I was like, what am I doing with these girls? What am I doing with these women? They bring nothing to the table because at the end of the day, I want to be married. I want my own kids. I want my own home. And I want the woman that I love to believe in the same things that I believe in, because if the yoke is not even, it's not going to work out. It never works out. And it didn't work out with the woman I dated before. My ex-fiance, she said she believed in God, but what turned me off is that when I would be forced and be hassled to go to her family's house on Halloween and worship Dia de los Muertos with a bunch of with a big shrine that they would build of the Virgin Mary in the shape of a skeleton and Jesus in a skeleton. All the saints are all skeleton with their eyes popping out with the serpent tongue. I'm like, this doesn't seem godly at all. What are you talking? Day of the dead. God is not of the dead. He is the living God. So I don't agree with what you have. And my fiance, we literally broke up because of many things like that. And at first it broke my heart because we were together for a long time and I asked her to marry me because I really did care about her. But at the end of the day, it didn't work out because we didn't believe in the same thing. No matter how long we were together, no matter how much I would have died for her and had her back, it didn't work out because we didn't have the same belief. And I believe you have to have that belief. As the Bible says, how many stories in the Bible do you see where the saints or the prophets that are the main characters of the Bible, the patriarchs, that they have to leave their woman because the yoke isn't even, what's his name? Abraham told his son Ishmael, leave that girl because she's not godly. She doesn't respect me as your father. So find another woman. I mean, it's right there. It doesn't work out if the yoke isn't even.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there for sure. The cultural differences go, so far beyond that, and like all over the world, we see in cultures where it becomes a tribal issue of marrying in or out of the group. And I think what you said there about values and trying to align those is really key in understanding, like, well, where are we at culturally? Because as a culture here in America, that is, what we do for fun. A lot of times we got to go out to the club. We got to shake our butt. We got to, we got to spend money in the most lascivious way possible in order to prove that we're capable of having a good time. And I think everything is coming full circle with that respect, because I recognize that too. And I was with somebody who we both very much wanted to get married. We wanted to have kids. And when I would approach the topic of faith in regards to my personal understanding, is I have a biblical lens. So I'm not opposed to looking at things differently or using different cultural lenses to look at faith. But anytime I would try and have that conversation with her, it would become hostile. It would become a very defensive, like, oh, you just want to put me in a box or make me think this way or that way. And I recognized, like, okay, so if I don't, for myself, have it all squared away down to a practice, like literally down to where, like I said before, it's rhetorical. You don't need to ask me, what are you doing? It's obvious. I am venerating myself and my life to the Most High. Then there's no point in me going around and saying, oh, look at you. You should do this, or you shouldn't be doing that, because obviously that's why your life sucks. And it's pointless for me to do that.
No, I agree with you, and I'll get into another example. I like where this conversation is going. That's why I knew this podcast is going to be fire, because we get into many subjects everybody can relate to, at least the people that agree with our faith. So another thing that we would get into trouble with was, I got in trouble with my ex-fiance, was that she had, her best friend was her cousin, and he was a homosexual. You already know where I'm going with this. So she would get mad at me if I didn't want to go out to a gay club. I'm like, why would I want to go to a gay club with you? What's the point? I'm not gay, but you're there with me. Yeah, but I'm getting harassed by a bunch of gay dudes all around me all night, and I don't want to be a part of that. Can you respect that? Oh, no, you never want to hang out with my family. Baby girl, I go to your family's Dia de los Muertos for the past 6-7 years. I do support you, but at the same time, I don't need to go to a gay club to prove that I love you, because I don't want to be a part of that. Oh, you're insecure with your sexuality. Oh, really? Am I? I thought I was with you. I mean, the arguments could keep going and going and going, but it doesn't stop. Right. So we ended up getting to a lot of arguments, and basically, long story short, I end up saying, look, if you don't like what I believe in, you can pack your stuff and you can go. Like before that, I was, we would cry, we would, try to make it work. But it got to a point where I was so sick and tired of her disrespecting my beliefs, because my beliefs never trampled over her. Like, I never forced her to do anything. I just didn't want to go to a gay club. I didn't want to go to a nightclub for your cousin's birthday, who's going to get bottle service and get belligerently drunk. And like, for what? I don't want to be there. And why is that of value to you if I'm there? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be there.
Yeah.
You're going to get mad at me for that.
Saying, one of the things that I had to recognize in myself was, the way that I celebrated really shallow relationships. And that was done through, whether it was secretly watching pornography regularly and then you have to go out into public and deal with not only myself, but everybody else having lewd conversations like they're normal. Like, why are we talking about that all the time? Why is everything referential to, butt sex? Or why is everything referential to getting laid or, getting girls? And I realized that I was sick with that too. I would have what would come off as a normal conversation with a coworker. And then, 10 minutes in, I realized, wow, we're both just objectifying women that we don't have a personal relationship with.
I already know the term.
We're sick people. And so, what had happened to me is I recognized after getting baptized, I wanted to live a wholesome life for myself, and I wanted to live happily. And so how do I take responsibility for what is mine while I cut out the same exact time, relinquishing ownership of all of the things that are outside of myself? For that, I think that has to be the ultimate blessing, to be without all of these worldly things and to still have and possess my own soul and my ability to, influence the people around me through love. That way I can wake up and be happy in the morning. I can have an indomitable spirit. And, in other words, I can admit a light that isn't my own light, but I can show it through me. Yes. If that makes sense.
No, it makes 100% sense. And right now, I'm not sure. Are you married right now?
I'm engaged.
Okay. Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah. So, I met my fiance a year after I had gotten baptized, and there was a lot of serious work that was going on at that time for myself.
Did you meet her at the church?
No, I never chose a denomination. My buddy of mine that had helped me get baptized, he's part of a church, and he's been a missionary for quite some time. But a lot of my Bible study would get referenced through him, and then back to my own personal researching and studies. My spouse, she didn't have any formal relationship with the church or with the Bible. Through her work, her clients would, make references and share scripture with her. But I think she had mentioned to me that I was one of the only people that she's ever met who would speak about scripture with reverence to God, as opposed to just, some book that people believe in.
Yeah. No, that's amazing, man. You have, like I said, you have to find someone who has your same beliefs, and if you have the same beliefs, you're going to have at the very least, a decent relationship. I can't stand when people say, oh, opposites attract to a certain extent until someone's in jail. You know what I mean? So opposites do not attract in that way. If everybody's on the opposite, it's not going to work out. As you know, as a person of the Bible, everybody in the Bible had to have a wife that was of the same belief or even further, the same, bloodline or whatever. But I don't think it's, that's the Old Testament. Everything changed when Jesus died on the cross, but you still have to have the same belief. I mean, you can't be a Christian or believer in Jesus or the gospel, whatever you want to call it. I don't get into denominations, but you can't be that and then date some chick who's an atheist. And unless you have a strong faith that you're going to change her. Most people don't change unless they want to. You can't really force anybody to change, but it always ends up in
that's free will, right?
In hell. Yeah, it always ends up in hell. Like I said, God is not, if you pray to God for a Ferrari, he's going to give you one just to send you straight to hell. It's not going to work out. You got to ask for spiritual things. You got to ask for, for things of the heart. You got to ask for wisdom, ask for knowledge, and all the other things will come after that. All the things will come when you get those things. You don't need all that nonsense to be happy, because I know people who have a lot of money and they're not happy. I mean, I'm their therapist more than their trainer. I mean, 30 minutes, 40 minutes of our session is them complaining. This girl did that to me. They did this. I hate this. This guy ripped me off. This and that. But
Right.
It just is what it is. And I definitely agree with you. And I'm very happy that you found someone that you could relate to. And God bless you for that. And so moving forward, I want to ask you something that we talked about, because I know it's a good subject, that me and you both had a revelation when we both discovered that the earth was an enclosed infrastructure. Oh. You know what I mean? Let's give it to them.
Okay. So that for me had to do with lockdowns.
Okay.
I mean, that set the fuse for me. I remember the day that it was announced on the news. It was March 14th, 2020. And I had just gotten licensed to run my business as an insurance agent. So I was going to do life insurance, health insurance, the whole 9 yards. I was ready to do the sales thing. And they locked everything down. And I was like, hold up, I'm about to go and do door knocking. And they just locked down the whole country. And I ended up being on my computer literally 24/7 because I was doing my work. And then at the same time, I'm jumping into rabbit holes, because what else do you do when you're stuck at home all day and the only thing that they keep open is the weed stores and the liquor stores?
Oh, man.
Dude,
tell me about
and
it.
This was, and mind you, this was before, like, this was in the middle of me going into my deep depression that had me realize, oh, you're killing yourself. Like, you are destroying yourself with lust and greed, and you're so far away from having a relationship with God on the level that we're getting into. And I guess what happened?
Bro, just really quick. I just want to put something there. The woman that I was talking about, who was my ex-fiance, so I remember this exactly. Her birthday is March 14th. And I remember she wanted to go to San Diego for her birthday just to go eat, shop around, spend the day there. And I remember when we got there, everything was dead. I was like, what is going on? The restaurants were empty. All the waiters were standing at the front of the restaurant, like, where's everybody at? And then I said, what's going on? He's like, oh, you didn't hear there's a virus going around. I was like, so you guys are open? Yeah, we're open, but like no one's coming in. But it was really weird. It was like a ghost town. And I remember, and the funny thing is we broke up during the COVID thing, as a lot of other people did lose their relationship in the COVID thing. And I would say our differences really went head to head during COVID, because guess what? Me and her were just together all day. She had nothing better to do than to complain about everything that I do, from where I leave my shoes in the apartment to what I said. And we just got so head to head. And her birthday was March the 14th. And that's one reason why I'll never forget COVID, because it was her birthday I took her to San Diego. And it was the longest, boringest ride home because the streets were empty.
Oh, man, that's funny.
Crazy, man.
Yeah. I went through during COVID and of course, 2016, that whole political mess that we had, I was going through a transformation. I was really greedy. I really wanted to work for as much money as I could for as little time as possible. And I was tired of the politics that surrounds this city and this area. As the best way I can explain it, and you're familiar with this, being in Southern California, there's a lot of homeless people in the West Coast, and there's a lot of homeless people in the United States. And I was carrying so much contempt for homeless people, and I didn't even know why. I was just, oh, those homeless people are making the city dirty, and they're doing drugs, and they're wrecking, like, I don't own anything, and I'm like getting mad because they're wrecking the property value in the street, and then it dawned on me that I don't have anything against any of these people, and whatever services or help that they receive as charity or from the state is not coming out of my pocket.
Yeah.
Because if it was, then we wouldn't be having this argument about unfettered inflation and the government taxing us to death. Like, we would actually be having a serious conversation about, hey, we're misappropriating our funds in government and people are getting left behind. We should fix that. Like, secular politics assumes that that's what we're doing, right? But I realized that no, like not even on a level of where we pretend we're being piously religious are we taking care of this problem. We're just lost as much as these people are. And so I recognize that just as much as these people can stick their whole life in a shopping cart, I can stick my whole life in my garage and no one will see it because I pay my rent every month, you know?
Yeah. No different than your people's whole life being in this phone.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I've been through that. The only thing I have against homeless people is when they come up to you and aggressively try to put your hands on you because you don't have $1 on you. Other than that, man, I understand, you know, stuff happens. I've been in a situation where I lived in my car for a month. You know, I wasn't like them, but I was close and it wasn't fun. And it wasn't fun being talked down to, oh, you know, when I was living in this car, man, blah, blah, blah. Like, it hurts. And that, you know, and I feel for these homeless people when there's like a big old camera in their face because someone wants to give them $1 so they could put it on social media, man. It's pathetic, man. It's pathetic when people give money or help homeless people and they have a whole camera crew with them to show. Like, right. Nobody wants to be seen that way. And the Bible says, don't be like the hypocrites and give out money in front of everybody. Do it secretly or do it because you want to. And like I said, I think the Bible has every answer in it because when you read it, there's a situation that everyone's been through in the Bible that comes out in the proper way, if that makes any sense. So every situation we've been through, there's a situation in the Bible that someone has been through and they came out the proper way to show you how to do it. And if they didn't do it, they came out in the bad way, but it will tell you why it's the wrong way. And I agree when the Bible says, if you're going to help the homeless, don't be like the hypocrites or the elites and do it so everybody can see. Do it no matter who's around. Whether there's nobody around or whether there's 1,000 people around, do it, give them their money or whatever, their food, and walk away. Don't sit there, oh, look at me, I just gave them $500. Cool, man, like, good for you. Like, don't brag about it. Like, don't brag about it and make them feel less, and don't, like, try to elevate yourself like you're some god, because it's something that you should do anyways, in my opinion.
No, I agree 100%. And it was that situation and those issues like that started to make me realize I had to really consider and question, like, what am I up to? There are cliches that people hear, like every word is a prayer or your thoughts and your words have power in them, but what we say really matters. I've many times admitted, you know, rather quickly that I've spoken or I've said something, oh, I'm just kidding. Like, I didn't mean that like that. But more importantly, I said something and it was something that wasn't well received. And so I had to, like, try and take it back, but you can't take it back at that point. And so making a habit of doing things like that, even when you're like, those, you know, like, oh, those Muslims or, those Christians over there, like, they're just doing what they do and not even recognizing that, like, you're making a joker of yourself by saying things like this. Now people don't have to take you seriously because not only are you trying to take your words back, like, oh, I'm just kidding, I didn't mean it. But now you have to deal with the fact that people hear what you say and there's nothing behind it.
Yeah, and then they're also judging you too, and now they have this little compartment now. Well, so-and-so likes to make fun of these people, so, I mean, he's just a little this or a little that. But moving forward, we haven't touched about the enclosed world. How did you get there? No, it's okay, though, because I like this, but tell me, what was your first thoughts when you started? Because, look, to the audience, this is a podcast where we're going to go a bunch of different avenues. This is why I brought this gentleman on the show because we had a very good conversation. I wish we would have recorded that conversation. It was like 2 hours long. We're on the phone and it was great. But I like to get into it a little bit of what we talked about here. And just for my personal self, I did a podcast with John Pounders. If you haven't heard it, I already said my little testimony, but I will give a little preview so Jor-El could build off of it. When I first heard about the flat earth, I was in between. Like, I started believing in Christ, God, the Holy Bible, the Bible of the Hebrews, New Testament, Old Testament. I don't think they're two books. I think they're one. But long story short, when I first found out when I first found out and then believed that we were on a flat earth. When I mean flat, I don't mean we're living on a 2D. I hate when people say, whoa, we're 2D. Yeah. No, we're on a flat plane. There could be hills. There could be mountains on this plane. No different than the desk that I'm on. I have a computer here. The computer's not flat. So I believe we're on a plane with a big dome, enclosed. And once I realized that, it just hit me. I'm like, wow, there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go. It's just us. And someone put this thing here. Someone built this whole giant aquarium. Someone put it there, and it's enclosed. Right. And then you start seeing the rockets that Elon Musk throws up, and they don't go anywhere. They just go like in a big curve. They never go straight up. It's just asinine that people believe that it's going into space because you can literally see it go across the sky.
And then we watch volcano plumes shoot smoke straight up into the air for hundreds and hundreds of miles.
And the smoke doesn't go anywhere.
It's not spinning around. Yeah, it's just going straight up.
Exactly. So there's so many. So once I realized that, I started thinking, okay, this is all BS. We are on a flat plane or a half a circle, big dome, whatever you want to call it. And it just hit me. I was like, wow, look at the stars. The stars are not moving. They've been the same constellations since the beginning of time, since the earliest culture. Yeah, since the earliest culture could map the stars. It's the same constellation in the sky, and it contradicts that we're flying through space at 100,000 miles, hundreds of thousands of miles through space. You will see a different sky every night unless the stars are moving perfectly with us, which is impossible. And I just said, man, like, I really need to get my act together because there is a God and someone made me. And if this God is the one of the Bible, he takes no prisoners. He is a just God and he is the best judge. So I need to get my act together immediately. That was my feeling when I first found out. So go ahead.
What hit me was very specifically, I got baptized and then I felt like this overwhelming sense of permission, like I had been given permission to study beyond what the church will show you or what the church will teach you. And I became very, very quickly obsessed with etymology, symbology, our relationship to physical and non-physical things and how we reconcile those, the connection between that. And I just thought back to being in college that I was really into Buddhism in college. I was really into yoga and the yin and yang and these concepts that were elusive in the United States because we're generally secular as an ideology. You know, we believe in modern science, and so therefore it doesn't really make any sense for us to go talking about miracles. Miracles aren't real. A miracle is us being smart enough to, create something with modern science so that we can help people. And that was kind of like that injunction that was happening, that was battling against, well, what is faith and religion then, as opposed to science and wisdom? And I started really studying, and it led me directly to things like the pyramids in Egypt. Like you said, they line up directly with Orion's belt perfectly, year after year. And then we have monoliths and megaliths of pyramids throughout the entire world that have astronomical alignment with them. And I think to myself, if the United States of America is the most modern, technologically advanced, smartest, society that's ever lived, then how come I have to reconcile this separation of church and state, faith and wisdom, when all of the court systems represent altars and all of the political offices represent or look like thrones to me? It's like we're playing Game of Thrones right now, and I'm the one that has to sit here with my 9 to 5 job in the middle of lockdown, mind you. So I have all this time to actually think about how messed up all this is and be like, they really did hit me with the whoopsie daisy. Look over here while I have my hand in your pocket. And it made me realize, like, wow, every single time I was fascinated and awed with a planetarium video, I can go back and look at it and cross-reference it with any Google image brought to you by NASA today, and they all look fake. They all look CGI. And I was like, wait a second. They really they don't look real. I bought myself a telescope. My fiance bought me a telescope, and we took that thing out, and first night I was up looking at, I'm pretty sure it was Venus, and that thing was moving and doing the same exact thing that you see when you have like a water bottle.
When you
have a water bottle reflecting off of the sunlight and hitting a glass or hitting something, and you're like, that's oscillation. Like, that is telesematic representation. And I think, for what it's worth, the droplets that, make concentric circles out of water and recreate geometric patterns hit me in a way that I started thinking about everything in life and representation of a geometric pattern of intelligent design, all the way down to the concentric circles on a tree. And I was like, how do we measure time or how old a tree is? We count the concentric circles going outwards. And in that same exact way, when we drop water onto the ocean, it spreads out in those concentric circles. And so, I guess, long story short, I realized my interpretation of time has always been Big Bang, straight line.
Yeah.
I
agree.
But having a new made in God's image perspective, I was able to flip it from looking at the pyramid from the side, where I'm looking at it like this, and now I was looking at everything from over top straight down. And so that pyramid that was a triangle, it all of a sudden became a circle.
Yeah.
And then it's a geometric pattern of design. And I was like, oh, that's the coordinates of the whole world. Like, so when they say a compass always points north, that's the representation that I'm holding as an electromagnetic beam,
Yeah, because
so
it doesn't go south.
North is pointing up to the middle.
Yeah,
type of thing.
And it never goes anywhere else. That's the thing. Like, how can we have two magnetic poles when it doesn't point anywhere else? Right. And another thing too I want to mention is that a lot of people don't want to believe in it because it sounds so unimportant. And I'm like, so you're telling me that you are amazed and you're just overwhelmed with questions because somebody told you that we're just a ball spinning around. There's infinite amount of galaxies and planets, and it goes on, and there could be this life form that could be a floating cloud. I mean, you could make up so many different worlds and so many different creatures that it's almost like a spell of infinite nothing.
The diamond planet,
exactly.
they have,
it's a bunch of nonsense.
They have quote unquote knowledge of planets that are bajillion miles away.
How?
And when how do they do that? Well, they just have, super duper fast internet, but I can't get, reception when I go into the mall. Like, what the heck?
And not only that, they've never been there. So how do you know?
Well, right. It's the fallacy of recognizing that here today in modern America, people have lost their connection with faith in the same way that, like, we scoff at fairy tales because we're not recognizing the inner relationship that all of us have together as human beings. And we try and compartmentalize our relationship to the world in the same way that modern science can compartmentalize my relationship with my emotions to, my intellect or my intelligence. But I can't separate those two as myself. Like my emotional intelligence is me.
Yeah. And not only that, I just want to go further that some people would say that that's amazing. It's just a forever infinite, world and this and that. But to me, what is more shocking and more amazing and more mind boggling and just, you can't even fathom that. I believe that we're in an enclosed dome and someone put it there. To me, that is more amazing and more like, wow, like how did he build this impenetrable dome? How are the stars just sitting on this dome? Does the dome like rotate around? Like are the stars, you know what I mean? Like are they stuck on this piece of glass? Like it's more, you can dive into those thoughts way more than thinking about this infinite nonsense. I mean, yes, God is infinite, but like this whole aquarium is just crazy to me. So like because then you start to think about if we are on a world where it's God versus Satan, and God tells you that he sits above and hell is below, well, they can take all that away by saying, well, we're on an earth that spins and there's no up and there's no down and it's a bunch of nonsense, and we could, aliens are coming from this planet and that planet. By the way, if there's so many aliens, I mean, there should be a bunch of traffic in the sky. I mean, you know what I mean? Like you're telling me they're on Mars, they're on Jupiter, and all these people are saying, oh, Saturn's rings, no one's going to be surfing on Saturn's rings anytime soon. Get out of here with that nonsense. No one's going to Mars. I know people that truly believe we're going to be living on Mars like 5 years ago, and their excuse is, well, it's going to happen this year or next year. Elon Musk said, bro, you're never going to go to Mars. I can promise you on my life, you're not going to Mars. You're not going to the moon. You're not going to surf Saturn's rings with a silver surfing surfboard. It's never going to happen. Stop the nonsense. Like you said, get a telescope. You can look at all the planets, and Saturn is the weirdest one. It has a little thing, but it doesn't look like a ring. It just looks like a ball with a little slit around it. It looks really weird. It doesn't look nothing like a planet. And even more so, I don't know if you remember this in the 90s, Jupiter, they were saying that Jupiter was going to get hit by a bunch of comets, right? I don't know if you remember that, but my dad was really big and heavy into astrology and the stars. And, my dad now believes, the true way that, in our opinion, it's a true way, just for all the people out there. But my dad had a telescope, and then, the news and everybody said, oh, this time this is going to happen. So we got the telescope and we watched this happen. And dude, I remember to this day, like as it was yesterday. I had to been about less than 10 years old. And I remember looking into that little telescope, and Jupiter looked like a fuzzy ball, and it had the little eye, but it's nothing like what they show, on this BS with all the CGI.
Show it as like a physical object.
Yeah. Yeah. So it looks like that. And then you just see these little stars. You know what stars look like? They look like that, and they're just going. And every time it touched the planet, there's no explosion. The planet just absorbed it. Like
almost like it was water falling into water.
Exactly. It's just being sucked in, and there's no, I mean, you would think 4 or 5 comets that they said are hitting it, you will see some damage, but no, it just looks like a vortex just sucking in lights. And it was crazy when as a kid, I remember to this day, you can look it up. Look up just a bunch of comets hitting Jupiter in the 90s, and it was a big thing. Okay. And I saw it live with my dad's telescope. It was insane, but it did not look like nothing was. You would think, look, if Jupiter is so big, supposedly you can fit 4 Earths in the eye of Jupiter, right? Supposedly. But yet these little dots that were hitting it, they were pretty big. They were about 15% of what that ball looked like. So you got like 4 or 5 of them. It would do some damage if we're going off the physics of what a planet is. It would, but they say, oh, Jupiter's just a big ball of gas, and so then it would go through it. Then, right? Nothing went through it. It just got sucked into this little vortex, and that was it. Like it was very strange. And then I start to think about, well, God says, when God made the earth, all the stars sung in glory. So who are the stars? The angels. So then you start to think, if you believe in what we believe in, The stars are nothing more than another kind of species that we can never understand of angels. Like, who are we to say that God didn't make those stars as living beings? What if those stars are living beings that have a job to stay in their perfect place, to show the signs in heaven? Because God says all the signs are in heaven. So who are we to say that those stars are not living beings that we can, well, how could a living being be a little light in the sky? Well, I don't know, because I'm not God, but you can't question that those stars have been there since the beginning of time. And you could look at wars and different big events that happen in history, and they all happen under a certain constellation or a certain eclipse in the sky or something like that. And it's not a coincidence that all those things happen on those days.
No, and it's not. I mean, I'll even go as far as to say what happened in September of 2001, and then what happened in September of 2020.
Yeah.
Like, it just, like, it's very down to a clockwork. And that was one of the big things that surprised me, is when referencing scripture to the things that are happening today. And I looked at it, said something along the lines of, the sun, moon, and stars, they show the signs and the times of the day. And so as far as signs are concerned, I used to laugh at people who were like, "Oh, what's your zodiac sign?"
Oh man.
Like,
God.
right. I used to laugh at people about that stuff. And then I recognized, like, oh, well, there's an actual relationship here with the tribes of Judah, if you want to say that, or if you want to go even to the geocentric alignment of the pyramids.
Well, even Abraham. When Abraham was born, the priests of Nimrod went to Terah's house, and they saw the birth. They're Terah was like Nimrod's second-hand guy, like the Hand of the King, Game of Thrones kind of stuff. But they were like, oh, you have a birth, you have a son, congratulations. They walked outside, they looked in the sky, and they saw a big star swallow 4 other stars. How do you explain that? Like, other than what we see today, like that Jupiter thing sucking in those stars. Whatever those signs mean, it means something, like you're saying. There's definitely something like, for example, the whole war with Russia and Ukraine, that war happened to start around the zodiac sign of Aries, and Aries is the god of war. What are the chances? Why didn't it start in Cancer? Or, you know what I mean? Like, it just happened to start during the time of the god of Aries in the sky.
And we recognize that in that same breath, NASA is shooting up all of its rockets with Latin and Roman god and pictures of Roman gods on its vessels.
Apollo 1, 2, 3, 4, 13, all the way.
Yeah. And so coming back to like what brought me to Christ was recognizing that everything we do is ritual. Everything we do is ceremony. Even when we're not consciously practicing what we're doing, we're still performing a ritual of some kind. And that's how we devolve into compulsive behaviors. Mm-hmm. And so ultimately what geocentrism, or the theory of flat earth, brought me to is recognizing that there's a direct relationship with the things that I say and the thoughts in my head and the actions that I pursue in real life. And all of those things have consequences. I think that having a relationship with God starts with considering the consequences for our actions.
Yes, I agree with everything that you said. Everything that you do, when at least for me, when you start believing in God, and when I say God, I have to be clear, God of the Bible. Once you truly start to believe in Him, and you truly start to put your faith into that, when you do things that you used to do before that you enjoyed, and it hurts you and it makes you feel guilty, to me, that is the first sign that you are truly with God. You are a member of God, like you are part of His group or army, so to say, just talking in human terms. Because there's things that I used to do before that I enjoy that I would feel disgusted and guilty now just talking about. Like, When I was in my early 20s, teenage years, I see a girl, man, look at that girl, look at that booty, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, we're all staring at her. Everybody, look, look, look. Today, if I saw someone do that, like, bro, like, what? Well, you never seen a girl before? Yeah. Like, what's wrong with you, dog? You never seen a girl? Like, relax, dude. She has a husband and a kid. Stop the nonsense, because it makes me mad to even watch it. And I'm like, man, I used to be like that. And again, to the audience, I don't force myself to be this way. This is how I feel now. I don't enjoy the things that I used to enjoy. I no longer enjoy going out to a club or to a bar, or I don't enjoy chasing women, and I just don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't need to do it. And it would make me feel disgusted if I did today in this age. I mean, for God's sakes, I don't like, there's movies that I watch, like, oh, there's a new movie and I watch it. 20 minutes in, there's two dudes making out. I'm like, I don't want to see it. And not even just dudes. Like what's that? Game of Thrones, for an example, right? There's a lot of stuff in there, but there's a lot of, you know, a man-on-man stuff. But even all the scenes with the man and the woman, I feel uncomfortable watching it. It's like, why do you need to make a 15-minute scene about this guy and that girl sleeping together? We get the point. Just go on with the story. And once I started feeling that way, I'm like, I'm definitely, my views are changing, and I'm becoming boring to everybody who I used to hang out with. Oh, you're boring. You don't like to do this. You don't like to go out. You don't like to watch this. You don't like to watch that. What are you, a Mormon? Absolutely not. I'm a follower of Christ, not a Mormon. So this stuff.
And that made me, I was just going to say that helped me recognize, like, the connection between being a disciple and having discipline.
Yeah.
Like, recognizing that that's not a separation of practice. One of the big things that I think, especially people within religious communities, have to deal with is this idea of divination of grace, or being saved because I'm part of the church. You know, like I already did communion, or I believe in Jesus, so therefore I can actually just, you know, I can go and confess and it'll be all forgiven, or I don't have to really actually put forth an effort to paying attention to the way that I am because I'm a member of the church, or because I've been saved. And I think that does a disservice to anybody who actually cares to show up and cares to be a representative of Christ.
Yeah, and I'm definitely gonna have you back on, bro. I really like how we vibe, and I want to get into all this Catholic stuff, but not right now because we only got about 20 minutes left. But I really do get where you're coming from, and I'm not just attacking Catholics. I'm attacking everybody who thinks they're better than everybody because, oh, I didn't eat meat on this day when you're not supposed to eat it. But you were at the club dancing butt naked the week before, so what does it matter? And you're not ashamed of it. And I'm sorry,
we
but
do that stuff all the time.
Yeah, and you can't just say, well, I went into this little box and I confessed to this guy who's just as guilty as you are. Who is this guy to tell you you're forgiven? It doesn't make any sense, and it goes the same way for every. When I say religion, I mean all the little sex, not sex, S-E-X, but the sex, S-E.
Right.
So all these little, we're talking about that on the phone. There's all these different Christian denominations now. There's over 100. And
thousands.
Thousands. Yeah. And I'm like, what is all this stuff? I have, like I said, I have these blindfolds on, and the only thing that I believe in is that what I read in this book, and you follow exactly what it says. And I don't know what you call that, but that's what I am. When people say, are you a Christian? Well, you want to call me a Christian, that's fine. But I believe in this. Well, I'm this kind of Christian. Well, what does that mean? Well, this and that. Well, where did you learn that at? Well, I don't know. My pastor told me. Well, bro, you don't have a mind of your own. You're not going to look at this. Like, for example, just 50 years ago out here, where I live, it's barely been growing. And a lot of the churches that my uncles would tell me that they used to go to as a kid, the pastor would literally tell them, you can't read the Bible because it's too intense for you to understand. So don't worry about it. We'll tell you what it says. They literally used to tell them that. And this is not even that long. It was like the 1960s, 1970s. They would literally say, don't worry about the Bible because you can't comprehend it. Only I can.
Well, just consider like as colored folks, we have to recognize that just within the last 100 years, we've been given the freedom to read books in English. So to consider how quickly our literacy has, come back to normal levels of society, we had to essentially recreate what it meant to be faithful people. My grandparents on my father's side were ministers, and it blew my mind when I had to sit there and think about, like, oh wow, in the 60s and 70s, when we really consider that, the family unit for black homes is getting separated, welfare state is being put into place, people are getting thrown into jail, who's going to read the scriptures now?
Yeah.
The women had to read the scriptures and teach people to keep the faith. And so that had to come into a whole thing of, oh, women aren't supposed to teach scriptures. Oh, we got to keep the churches pure. And now you have this separation of, all right, who's the devil again? Because when we're talking about Protestants and Catholics, well, the devil is in the definition. Are you a Protestant or are you a Catholic? Yeah. But now, being American colonials and half black, half white, recognizing that one half of my family history is, Swedish Freemasons. And they came here on the boat and they got the ceremonious welcome, and they were given houses and land, and they were given authority in society. But the other half of my family came up from the mud, and they were both reading the same exact Protestant Bible.
Man, I didn't know all that. How did you figure that out about your Swedish side? That's pretty intense, brother. That's crazy, man. That's insane. You're literally like an example of what two different halves could be, which would be right. Back then. And, if it was a long time ago, it would be forbidden right. for your mom and dad to be together. And really quick.
And it was.
So when you say that your families were ministers, was that the black side or the other side of your family?
On both sides.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So on my father's side, the black side, my grandmothers were ministers in Oakland and in the Bay Area in the I think the 50s and 60s. And then on my mother's side, that lineage came almost entirely from Sweden. I think like 3/4 of it. And my great grandfather was a bar captain and a naval commander in World War I. World War I. And so he was over in Astoria doing like flying around the Columbia barge, helping boats navigate into the docks. And I was doing family history, just ancestry stuff, and there's so much information on him. It was just kind of wild. I was like, wow. It's really, really hard to get down to the names and the places and the dates on my father's side, but it's really easy to look at the history of my mom's side all the way back to the 1800s.
So going back to the 1800s, what did you find out on that? That's very interesting.
They're a family that came in 1888, 1890, they shipped in from Sweden and landed in San Francisco.
That's wild.
And then made their way north from there to Astoria. And so that's how my family lineage got me onto the West Coast from the white side.
Yeah. And just for the audience, what state do you reside in now?
I'm in Eugene, Oregon.
Oh, yeah, Eugene, Oregon. Sound like a white boy place. Just kidding, man.
It is.
It does one of those things where you say you're kidding, but you're not.
You're not. But we have the University of Oregon, and it's becoming really, really popular. So just in the last couple of years, the amount of clothing shops that are like secondhand clothing shops, but they're selling, nice clothing that you can't just get at the mall or Macy's or whatever. What am I trying to say? For the first time in my life in this city, I can go down the street and buy a pair of Jordans at the store.
Yeah.
I don't have to go online, you know?
It's starting to get more mixed up, and there's no more like laws against, well, this comes from this kind of type of person. We can't have that here. You know,
Exactly.
I get it. Yeah. No, I get it.
Well, I mean, the city that my mother grew up in to this day still has a law on the books called the after dusk rule. And so if you're colored, Mexican, or black,
when the sun goes down, right, you're just done.
Yeah,
right?
Once the sun goes down, you're supposed to go inside.
Wow, man. Have you ever seen?
I mean, that's not enforced, but it's, you know, it's still on the books. So we do just fine.
Yeah, no, of course you're still here, right? So
that's right.
So you ever you bring me back? You ever seen that show? You know that guy, Jonathan Majors? He was Kang in the Marvel movies. He just got in trouble right now in court. His name's Jonathan Majors. Oh man, he has a show, man, and it's about all that, those sundown cities. Let me just tell you really quick, because you're gonna recognize it once I tell you the name of the show. Lovecraft Country. You gotta watch that show, bro.
Okay.
It is one of the most interesting shows I've ever seen. It is about a black family around that time, during the sundown cities, and when I first watched the show, I was like, wow, this show's getting interesting. Because first, the way the previews, it just shows like, okay, this is just about, you know, a family growing up in a racist town, and it is, right? But then this, like 2-3 episodes in, this white guy, like whiter than white, like abnormally white, like white hair, pale skin, just the color of his white hair.
He's albino, huh?
Yeah, like, but not albino though, kind of like that angel kind of look. And he drops off a letter, and he reads it, and it's basically telling the black guy, Jonathan Majors, that he is a long descendant of this higher elite family that's all looking like them. And they invite him in. I don't want to kill it for you because I know you enjoy this, but I'm going to give you a little bit. So they invite him in, you know, to their family, big, massive mansion. Of course, they go in. There's all this weird occultic stuff. What the heck is this picture? What's this painting? What the heck is this symbol thing? This room is weird, blah, blah, blah. And long story short, I'm going to give you basically the synopsis of it is that he ends up being really related to these people from a long generation of a bloodline. And they need him because he has the blood in him, because he has blood like that's related to one of the main kings through this bloodline, and he just happens to be, you know, a son of one of the black slaves that, you know, that the king at the time just kind of had sex with and had a little relationship with, but he's the only one left with that bloodline, and they need his blood to open this portal into the Garden of Eden. Bro, it is I did not expect it. I was like, what the heck? Where is this show going? And it's so good, bro. You got to check it out, bro. You got it, because it just starts off like, oh, it's just a show about racism, which is good, you know. But then it starts getting into that, and then it just gets all supernatural and demons and ghosts, and it follows this whole family, this black family, like in the 50s. It's very good. You should definitely check it out. It's very interesting. It's very a lot of biblical stuff, occultic, Freemason stuff.
Like what is racism without blood rights, right?
Yes, yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, there's no, you can only be racist if there's some kind of knowledge that this race is a threat to me, or this and that. You know what I mean? Kind of like
exactly
how all the elites target a certain race. And right now it's getting so confusing, because the same people who targeted black people, ethnic people, Mexican people, whatever, those same people are now putting a target on white men. It's like what's happening? Is this like a curveball now? Because right now, the most dangerous man to the media is a white conservative Christian male, believe it or not. Because right now, so to me, like, when I was like, what are they trying to do now? Because they were so focused on black people and Mexicans for so long, and now they're targeting their own kind, in my opinion.
I think it's very specifically just trying to create
chaos,
pockets of chaos, and compartmentalize people's thinking into being like, oh, in group, out group, it's the safest way, when really our ability to relate with people beyond those incorporeal borders is how we break those chains, is how we get out of the mental incarceration actually get down to relating with people, you know. There's a lot of difficulty in recognizing that the government actually has none of our best interest at heart.
No, absolutely not. And
but there are good people that work in government, and so we have to deal with that just in the same way that we say the church isn't going to send you to heaven. No. But there are good people in the church that can show you how to live your life. Like, yes. It's our responsibility as individuals to show up and take responsibility for what's in front of us. But the finger pointing, the accusing, that just reminds me of the mess that we're in.
Yeah, and I'm guilty of doing that sometimes, and I have to snap out of it. But like I said, when you get baptized and you believe in the faith, you just don't change overnight. You get sanctified over time, and I'm slowly learning. And to the people that listen to me, you might think I'm just a heathen, but trust me, I come a long way from where I used to be, a very long way. And my tattoos and my criminal record will tell you that. So everybody gets sanctified over time, and I'm definitely one of the ones that I'm still working on it, and everybody's always going to be working on it. No matter how pure you want to think you are, everybody's working on it because no one can ever be perfect. I mean, the day you can stop a thought that you can't control that's bad, according to your belief, is the day you're perfect, but it's not going to happen. I mean, you could live the perfect life on the outside, but those thoughts still come in. Whether you block them out or not, they're going to come in. And those are things that I told myself, like, you're always going to deal with this. And to me, that is the beauty in fighting for what's good and not giving in to the, to the things that that are bad. Because we had a conversation about this before that, I mean, at least in my opinion, there are opinions and there are, so for example, blondes are better than brunettes. That is an opinion. Ice cream is better than, hot Cheetos. That's an opinion. But water is wet and fire is hot. That is a fact. And I believe that just because someone grows up in a different kind of upbringing or a different kind of religion or a different point of view, it doesn't make it right. Because if you, for example, let's just say you're on an island of a tribe that has never seen the outside world. Let's just say it's a tribe in Peru or Africa. They're black or they're Peruvians and they're Native Americans. They've never seen a white man before. Okay. And they never had the gospel. But I'm going to assume that they're going to protect their children with their life, and they're not just going to let them get killed and be bullied or murdered or raped or whatever, because it is already written in your heart that something is bad about that. Like, even they know that there's good and bad. Like, they have wives and they're going to be protective over their woman, over their kids. So I do believe there is a certain standard, because people say, well, that's just the Bible standard. But there's people who've never seen a Bible before, and they have those same standards. So I do believe there's a good and a bad.
I think that's a really good point. And with that being said, there are people who even make a life or an entire career out of teaching the perspective of the Bible that they want to teach. And just coming out of my own, I guess the best way I can really explain it is a mental incarceration. Like, I had to recognize, wow, I'm living a really compulsive lifestyle. And that had nothing to say about all of the things that I thought I was really good at, really smart with, or people would give me unbelievable amount of praise for being, oh, Jor-El, you're so good at this, or oh, you're so smart and charming and respectful. And then I go home and I'm thinking to myself, am I though?
Yeah, because only you know yourself. Exactly.
Only you know yourself like that. And so the cognitive dissonance that I deal with, and I'm trying to reconcile, is that just because I go out and put myself in the world and say, hey, everyone, I believe in the gospel, or I'm a Christian, that doesn't mean anything to anyone, especially if they don't know me from Adam.
Exactly. It's about your actions, as we said. You could be baptized and have a cool little picture when you got baptized, and you can wear a little pin that you say you got baptized. This is just an example, but if you're out there, okay, let me give a better example. If Jesus said all these things, right, and he said, don't do this, don't do that, do this, do this, but if he was out there and you witness him doing the opposite, would you believe him? No, you wouldn't. Your actions speak for everything. You are perceived based on what other people see. So it doesn't matter what status level you are in a church or whatever the case may be. It all goes, it all is judged upon, believe it or not, whether people want to admit it or not. Or, well, I know myself. Well, these people witness something different. And your actions speak louder than words. It is what it is, because you can say I believe in God, but yet you're still doing the same nonsense that you preach that you're not supposed to do. And I tell people this is the biggest thing that I think is the biggest example. For example, you live with your wife and your kids. And when you go to work, let's just say your job is being a salesman. And when you go to work to this sales job, selling cars at Honda, for an example, and you are just the nicest, most charming person. Oh, how are you doing today? Blah, blah, blah. And then, people see, oh man, Lionel's a great salesman. He's very nice, he's respectful. He has, has a crucifix on. He's probably a Christian, man. I like that guy. But then he gets home from work, doesn't say a word to his wife because he's moody, doesn't pay attention
Yelling
to his kids, all this stuff. You need to be like that at home. If you could be a good person at home and treat the people who love you and who is your family or whatever the case is the real you. The real you is not out in the world. The real you is when you're at home with the people that you love and no one's watching. That is the real you. And if you are doing that at work or whatever the case is, at work or at the club or whatever, and you're treating the people who are your blood or just your wife or your kid, it doesn't matter, and you're treating them like shit, that right there shows exactly who you are. It all starts at home, in my opinion, in my personal opinion.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, 100%. That's what my pastor told me a long time ago, and it hit my heart, and I started to think like, man, I'm always moody all the time. Like, for example, one of the most annoying questions that people ask me, and most people that ask me, they already know me for a long time, and I get annoyed, but I started to learn how to answer in a different way. So people that know me for at least a year know that all I do is work. I work 6 to 7 days a week, 12 to 15 hours a day. And one of the most annoying questions that used to bother me, still bothers me a little bit, but you just got to see it for what it is. They always say, oh, what are you doing today? I'm going to work. The same people that see me every day. Yeah. Like, for an example, my job is about a 20-minute drive, right? And there's this little corner store that's right next to my work. And I've been working at this gym for about 10 years. So these people know me, the same people. I know the owners are very sweet people. They're actually one of the members on my podcast. They're very nice Korean couple, husband, wife, and kids. But the workers there, I'm cool with them too. And they know that when I go in there, I'm getting stuff, drinks and stuff, snacks to go to work. And every morning they ask me, oh, where are you going? Where do you think? You think I drove all the way over here to get a donut from you? I could go down the street and going to work, bro. But it used to bother me. You know what I mean? But now I just kind of just take it as they're just trying to strike a conversation. But it's still, we're human. It's kind of annoying, but at the same time, it's not that annoying where you're just gonna be, pissed off and give them attitude, because they genuinely kind of care about you because you're part of their life. You see them, at least me, I see these people every single day, and they're very nice people. Sometimes they give me free stuff. Sometimes the owner gives me free hats. I have a bunch of hats because he sells a bunch of hats at the store, and they're very nice people. And I need to stop taking it so personal and just take it as someone trying to strike up a conversation because they genuinely like me and they genuinely want to talk to me, because usually these conversations lead into stuff that we're talking about because they know that I know this stuff and they just want to ask me questions. Oh, what about this in the Bible? What about this UFO thing? What do you think about it? But they don't know how to start a conversation without saying, oh, what are you doing today? Where are you going? Well, brother, I'm doing the same thing I do 7 days a week, going to work.
And that is something that my fiance taught me just recently. And just how earlier I was saying, oh, how do people know you're a good person back in the day? Well, well, who do you believe? What do you believe? What do you do for a living? You know? And it's just kind of like a compulsive, like, hey, the weather's nice. But once I really started self-actualizing and being comfortable of speaking in the first person, what I really mean is like, I'm speaking my mind. This is what I think about this. This isn't oh, we should all be, or, oh, I don't like it when they, people were really, really way more open to asking me questions about stuff because they knew that I wasn't going to present it in a way that was judgmental or, belittling. Like, asking questions sometimes can feel really belittling. And a lot of getting rid of the fear of accepting the gospel was recognizing that we carry so much shame and guilt for being wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. And your wife or your fiance is very on the point with that. She must have been through something that showed her and realized that, because that's something that you have to hear from somebody else. Like, even
Right.
my mom tells me, like, cause she lives in Louisiana, and she'll text me, and I won't write back. Not because I don't want to, because I get so many text messages. It just gets buried in all the messages. Cause, you know, I have my own boxing business. So I get plethora of people that find my number on Google and text me. And Mom's like, well, you know, how come you don't write me back? Why are you so rude? And I'll get mad, like, Mom, I'm busy, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, that's my mom. And I should have some sympathy for that and go out of my way and show that, because if people that I train saw how I treated my mom sometimes, they wouldn't see me the same way. And those are things you got to do in secret, period. Just period. You know what I mean? What do you think about that?
I think that's a really good point. I think the concept of keeping things sacred is something that, as a society, we're struggling with. I mean, just on a political level, the concept of privacy is being stripped away on a daily basis. So we're so used to seeing homeless people on the streets consistently doing their business and being like, well, what the heck? Like, don't you know you're in public? But that's what we do when we incarcerate people. Like, we strip them of their privacy entirely. And so they become normal to just living without privacy. And I think that connecting privacy to sacredness is kind of like the missing link in revitalizing what it means to having holy relationships or spiritual relationships. With that being said, like, it's hard to get somebody to understand. It's hard to get somebody to understand a spiritual concept if it's not something that they've actually held as an image in their head, like symbolically.
Yeah. Your whole voice just got more louder and deeper in a good way. What did you do to your computer? You just sound...
No, my earpods died.
Oh, you sound more intense now. So whatever you did with those AirPods, you sound way better now. That's
Good.
what it sound. You sound way better. I was like, whoa.
Good.
I did an angel just inherit your body. You sounded deep. But yeah, dude, I mean, all this stuff that we're talking about, I can talk about all day. I mean, I love the conversation that we're having, but we have to get the show ended. But before we do, I want to ask you a question. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about and touch on? I still have about 20 minutes and we can definitely get into it. Is there anything else that we missed that you wanted to talk about? Because I know we had a lot of things to talk about, but we got into a couple of left and right subjects. But they weren't bad. This is a great episode, man. I'm telling you.
I wanted to give a couple of shout outs, at least. One of my really close friends has a Instagram page called the Hive Mind, and he was one of the first people that introduced me to Christ as a kid. And we would go around. I don't know if you remember early 2000s when they had those little orange pocket Testament Bibles.
Yeah. They're like little mini Bibles. And yeah.
We would carry those things around in our back pocket all the time. And we would
rip that thing out and turn to like, oh, what's it say about how we feel about this? And we're, and just growing into that together, it was a big deal. And I think we were like 13 or 14 years old, and he had moved out into the countryside, and his mom was working as a Bible studies teacher, and she asked me and him to help her with a family friend that they had with an exorcism. And I was like,
wait a minute, let's get into that. Can you get into that really quick? I would love to talk about this exorcism, man. That's the good stuff.
Yeah, it was really, really bizarre in the sense that I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I had maybe seen
a movie or something.
A movie.
Yeah.
Right. Like maybe I saw The Exorcism of Emily Rose one time before that. And so I get off of school, he's at my house, and she comes and she picks me up in their Mercury Saturn, one of those old cars they don't make anymore.
Big body cars, right? Those big body ones, yeah.
And I get in, and she's sitting in the middle in the back, and I'm sitting on the right side. And this gal who was apparently possessed, she was doing the mouth breathing thing, just and I'm like, what are
Did it scare you?
Like, I was like, is this lady? She was just an old lady, but she had like one eye was a different color than the other. And I just noticed that she was like in the car with us, but she clearly wasn't in the car with us. You know what I mean?
Her mind was somewhere else. Like her essence was something about you. You ever listen to that episode with Dr. Richard Gallagher that I did?
No.
You got to listen to that one. He is a psychiatrist who never believed in anything spiritual. And he was approached, and he's still a psychiatrist today in New York. When you call his phone, you can't even leave a voicemail because he's so busy now. But meaning he's very well known in his practices, but he described exactly what you said. Their eyes change colors, and it's not like the movies, but it's almost like the movies. But go ahead.
Right. And so we're in the car, and they're taking us out basically into the woods, like away from people, so that we can have this little ceremony in the trees. And my buddy's mom is talking about like how we came to this decision and what we need to do. And she said, apparently she's possessed by Beelzebub. And I'm like, I have no idea who or what that is. And my buddy, he says to me, well, that's the Lord of the Flies. And I was thinking to myself, well, I just read The Lord of the Flies in school last week.
There's no Beelzebub in that.
Yeah, I was like, Beelzebub is the Lord of the Flies, and I started going. Anyways, we get to the woods, and we stand around her in a circle, and we're holding hands, and she starts reciting scripture and praying for this woman. And I remember at the end of it seeming very anticlimactic, or like whatever happened, we did it, but I don't know if it worked. That was the feeling that I had from it. And from that day, this was within the time frame of my best friend being inseparable, us running around together, keeping those little pocket Bibles. He stopped showing up to school. He was living an hour away from where I was. And I'm in the city in Eugene, and he's out in the boonies having a completely different life experience than I am. Essentially being the black kid in the countryside. And then I was living in the city and having a really, really good life. But we were essentially like, we saw ourselves as the same equal part or equal halves. And it came a really, really contentious friendship because we were fighting all of the time. And it was almost like immediately after this exorcism happened.
Like fighting, like arguing about anything and everything? Okay.
Yes, like about life, about how I have it so good, about how he can't be happy. Everything from like me being on the football team to him not being friends with any of the jocks type of thing, like all of the white kids want to fight with him type of deal.
Yeah.
And it dawned on me, and I was like, what happened to you? Like, did anything happen to you when we had that exorcism? And he said that he asked whatever was happening to this lady to take it away from her. And he said, I'll take it on. Like he was basically like,
wow.
I'll martyr myself. Yeah. And we were kids, so we don't really know what those types of things mean.
And you're inviting it, literally. Right. Oh, wow.
And so in the same exact way that all these kids in the Lord of the Flies start fighting with each other over trust and like, who are we together? We started fighting with each other, and it became contentious for almost a couple of years. And he started an entire, he's really, really creative, and he started his own comic that he's been working on for years and years and years that have basically been like, the best way that I can describe it is an ensemble of the spiritual happenings that have happened to him since that day.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. I would love to read that.
So he's got a really, really interesting story. You might consider having him on.
Yeah, I would love to. Damn, I bet whatever he went through is a lot longer than what you're telling me. That's very crazy absolutely. To me.
He's got really, really intricate stories about living, out in the countryside where he's, essentially on his own. All he has is his mom and then what family is around them. And then just a complete separation of culture, because he's from Los Angeles. My dad's an OG Crip. And now you have me living out here in the boonies with these kids who are, make fun of people with curly hair.
Yeah. So yeah, he definitely went through it, man. That's wild. He
really
man.
Did.
That's
really
wild did. Because when you're getting rid of a spirit, I'm no professional exorcism or whatever you want to call it, people that get rid of spirits. The number one rule you don't do is invite it into yourself. You got to send it away or send it to something that's not human,
Right.
For
like
example.
They put it in the toaster.
Exactly. Ghostbusters. And even further, what did Jesus do when he did an exorcism to that guy? And, he exorcised them. And then the demon said, we are not one, we are many, we are legion. And he sent them to the pigs. He had to send them into some kind of vessel, because if he just sent them out, they would go travel and just find another host, because as the Bible says, when they come back times 7.
That's
and
right.
I don't know why 7, but that means they're just 7 times stronger, and they keep coming back times 7 times 7 times 7 until you put them into something and get rid of them. And the interesting thing to me about that story, about the Bible and what you're telling me, is that when God sent those spirits into the pigs, the first thing they did, which is interesting, is they went to go kill themselves. They jumped over the cliff and went into the water. And
the Lord of the Flies, who got killed after they started calling him Piggy.
Oh, tell me. I don't remember that part. Tell me.
There was a kid in the book where they start calling him Piggy.
Oh, wow. That's wild, bro. See? You see what I'm saying? All this stuff connects, and I also think they're doubling down. When those pigs went into the water, I want to go forth and to say, because those demons didn't want to go to hell. I remember it said, like, those demons were like, are you the one that, are you going to send us to hell, before our time? They knew who we were. They knew who Jesus was. They were scared. So he sent them to the pigs, and then they went to go kill themselves. And to me, I think those spirits did that on purpose so they can inhabit the waters. Because a lot of people don't know. There's a whole another podcast we can do for decades about what is happening in the water. First of all, the flood wiped out most of the demonic, cities, all the giants and stuff. So there's definitely something in the water that these spirits are attached to. And even the Bible says when Jesus comes back, he's going to judge the ones on earth, and he's going to judge the ones in the earth, whatever that means. And he's going to judge the ones in the sea. What the heck is living in the sea? I don't know, but I think that's a very, there's a lot of connections right there, that what you said about Lord of the Flies, about them going into the ocean, because those pigs could have ran anywhere they wanted, but they chose to run over the cliff and die in the ocean.
Yep. And I can't remember how they killed Piggy. I don't know if they impaled him with sticks or if they pushed him off a cliff.
I'm definitely going to look that up. But, again, really quick, brother, we got to close this show. It was a very good one. Really quick, if you want to, give your friend's handle again, where to find his Instagram, you want to give any information, where to find your Instagram, your work, whatever it is, please do it right now, my friend. Absolutely.
So his Instagram page is, The Hive Mind, and we'll put the link in the description.
Yes, absolutely.
It's got underscores in it. Hive Mind Society is what it's called. And then the page that I run with my fiance is all about self-reflection and journaling and becoming aligned with yourself.
You're in trouble? I heard that. Someone's knocking on your door.
The cat just came in the cat door.
Oh, okay. I was like, who's your wife's mad? Just kidding. Go ahead. What were you saying again?
And that handle is called Disobedient GA. And you can check us out there. We've got pretty much anything that you need as far as self-accommodation or trying to get to know what you're up to.
Yes, and all those descriptions will be in the link in the bio. When we get off here, go ahead and text me all that stuff. Thank you again, Jor-El, for coming on. I haven't done an episode over 2 hours in a long time, so that just tells you how much I enjoyed this podcast, because you know all my podcasts are an hour and a half long. This was a very good one. I enjoy talking to. These are the kind of podcasts I like to get into, where you can just jump into different subjects, but they all connect to the same goal, I guess. So to say, because we talked about relationships, we talked about how people perceive you, we talked about demons, we talked about exorcisms, we talked about different beliefs, we talked about NASA, we talked about geocent, and all of it relates to the same thing. And to me, there's only two sides, ladies and gentlemen. There's only good and evil. And to me, that's it. That's my personal opinion. I'm not trying to put anything on my guests, but that's my personal belief. There's only two sides to this. There's good and evil. And there's two masters to this. There's Jesus or God. You want to call him Jesus or God. He's one the same to me. And there's Lucifer or Satan, and whatever you want to call it. And in my opinion, we are living the greatest epic story that history can possibly imagine. To me, we are seeing the ultimate love of a father for his son. He loves his son so much that he has this epic story that Jesus is going to be the savior. He is the ultimate superhero going across all eons of generations throughout the creation before earth. And to me, this is a story of a father who loves his son, who sent him to the earth and sacrificed him and made him the hero. You see all these superhero movies that are coming out. These are just all a replication of what the Bible is, in my opinion. And I'm going off on a rant here, but I really, truly believe that. I thank you, Jor-El, for coming on again. This is the Sabbath at Midnight. Do not hang up. I'm just going to finish recording, and we'll talk a little bit before we get off. And again, it is about, what's the time is it right now? It is 10:12 in California. So for me, it is good night, and it is later. And my guest time, Jor-El, it is very late. So it's good night for me, good night for him. But to all my listeners around the world, all the way from Australia, all the way to even people all the way up in Germany. We got people in South Africa listening to me. Bless you all around the world, United Kingdom. Thank you for listening. Good morning, good night, good evening, whatever the case may be, all around the world.